everyone, I am actually back for another video. I hope that you're all doing well, and I just have a couple of things that I would like to share. I want to go over weird energies in the past month and strange shifts that have occurred. It seems like not just for me, um, and also just another, yeah, I think I could call it energy upgrade within myself where I really wonder if others are experiencing a similar thing because I have the impression that some do and others don't. Um, and an experience that I had that kind of freaked me out a little bit, where I felt like I recognized AI in an actual person for the first time consciously. It was, I mean, it is a girl of, I believe she's about 13. And yeah, I want to get into that. And another thing that I also want to talk about is ghost apps. I don't know if you have experienced anything with those apps, but there are apps that are supposed to be able to kind of record electromagnetic fields or presences that aren't visible to the eye. Um, and those kind of freak me out. So I want to talk a little bit just about my idea on them and what I believe that they can actually do. And I guess I'm also going to mention the crystals of the month, or just my favorite crystals for March 2024. Um, so I don't know how about you, but for me and most of the people that I am in contact with, February was a really tough month to get through. It was seriously mentally and emotionally challenging. And I mean, February is my least favorite month of the year in general, but this one was especially challenging, I found. Generally, I would say that also just from the reports that I got from people is that people tended to be much more moody. It was just an intense up and down of emotions and thoughts, and kind of having a hard time to even keep track of the thoughts. They were going a little wild. Um, there was more anxiety, more agitation, but it was also very, very depleting, very exhausting. And generally, many of us have been much more sensitive to overstimulation. And at least I also experienced that a lot. One moment that I had was especially challenging for me. And I wasn't even sure if I was going to share it because I was seriously worried about just my health. I started to believe that my mind is kind of declining in some sorts, like in the way of fearing that I might have something like dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that. And now looking back on it, I know that it is exaggerated to think that, but I truly felt like I was losing control. And it is a very scary thought, and it is a thing that can happen to people. In my case, I am aware that I have a little bit of a neurological condition anyways, but I had a moment where I started to believe that it might be worse than I think, or it might be getting worse. Um, I have done things on autopilot that just started to worry me. And I admit that I have always been a somewhat, disassociated personality, and I tend to just not really be present and go throughout the day on autopilot a lot because I'm just not like mentally, I'm somewhere totally else, but my body is usually doing its things the way it's supposed to do. But this month it was weird. I don't want to get into details, but there was this one evening where I actually like I was looking at my body and was just like, what if, there's just a mental decline taking place that I have no control over and that might worsen over the years. And then I got really sad. And the thing is that I don't really think that I would suffer a lot, but I'm worried about my loved ones, and how it would make them feel and how they would be worried about me. And I don't think that it is anything bad, and I do believe that it has a lot to do with what was going on energetically throughout the month anyway. It was such a heaviness that was kind of in the air, and yeah, people seeming to just be less themselves in a strange way. And the strange thing is that my stepmom, who I am really strongly connected to, had a very similar experience just a couple of days after me. And we just talked about it yesterday. And so, I mean, in a way, I don't feel so alone with it. And it kind of makes me believe that maybe it has nothing to do with my health. And it's really just, it depends on how sensitive a person is, and how much we can be influenced by all kinds of energies and everything that is going on around us and within us. So I am not that worried anymore, but also especially because I would say since yesterday or maybe the day before, I begin to feel much more like myself again. And this is weird because I have been feeling as if I was in a daze or in a dream since, I want to say, like 2.5, if not 3 years. I have been constantly in this really, I was tired all the time. I could have just slept nonstop. I never really felt recovered. I didn't know if it was about, maybe having a lack in certain nutritions or vitamins or whatever. And I tried many things, but I could not pinpoint where this comes from and what exactly the root cause is of it. And only since, yeah, I want to say before yesterday, I am even capable of looking at it because it felt like waking up from a really long dream. I wonder if anyone else is experiencing that. For some reason, I also feel like it could have something to do with even location, because when I look at the people in the US, they don't seem to have experienced it in the same way we did here in Europe. And I also remember for the time that I spent in Egypt, I didn't have it. So it was like I got out of the days as soon as I left Switzerland, and I fell back into it as soon as I arrived here. It was really hard for me to detect the source of that. And I kind of sort of gave up on it because I started to believe that, I don't know, maybe it's an age thing or whatever. But now I start to kind of look at it and really feel like it could be some kind of, if you want to call it like astral technology. Yeah, I feel like I am capable to see it now, and it shows up. I'm a visual person, so to me it shows up as this cloud, and it's dark purple, and it's like it has black and gray on it, and there are these strings that seem to go out to many individuals, maybe all over the planet, but it seems like many people are hooked up to this, and it has a very much energy siphoning effect. And it did feel like most of my energy was kind of locked away. It was not accessible for me anymore, and it was still somewhere, but I was running on what felt like maybe 10% of my own energy. And as I said, I tried many things. I talked to my guides. I demanded to, return my energy to me. I did not, I mentioned that I do not agree to any kind of energy siphoning or vampirism or whatever it is. And it didn't really work, but I did it maybe last week once again, very determined. And I don't know if that was the reason why I was kind of released from it, but I did something right, I guess, or I was just released for some reason. And if I look at this cloud now, it does feel like it's still there, but it's way less dense. And I don't know, like I have the feeling that we were helped by someone, and I'm not going to say like, oh, I think the, I don't know, Pleiadians came and made the bad cloud go away, because I don't think so, but it really feels like there was some kind of support that helped with that in a way. And it's still not gone, but I really wonder if anyone out there feels the same way. If anyone of you maybe feel like you have woken up out of a daze, or like your brain fog has left, or like you have much more energy now. I mean, it could also have something to do with the change in seasons. It is slowly, getting spring here, but I don't feel that it's related to that at all because it has been constant for the past years. And I thought that this is just my new default state and this is how I'm going to feel for the rest of my life, if not feeling even more tired the older I become. But now I truly feel like I have regained a huge chunk of my energy once again. So it's a very, very strange phenomenon. Um, yeah, I don't know where it came from. I wonder if it is related to illnesses. I don't know if it is related to a very specific illness, maybe COVID, maybe something similar to that. But I cannot imagine that I am the only one who is experiencing that. I don't think that it was a curse. I don't think that it was like the elite who was doing a weird ritual every morning to siphon the energy of, I don't know, sensitives and empaths and whatnot. I feel like it was much more of a broader thing that all kinds of people were hooked onto or kind of connected to in a weird way. And it is, yeah, I feel like it's becoming easier now and it is dissolving somewhat at least. So please let me know what you think of it and if you experienced anything similar. Um, this other thing that I want to mention is my experience that I had with a young woman of, I believe that she's 13. So this is in a chat of my friends. And a younger sister of my friends texted us in the chat asking for help because she was experiencing something that started to kind of scare her and she couldn't really tell what it is and what to do about it. And so I just happened to be the one who saw the message and then I began to kind of look at what could be going on. And her sister, who is our friend, first thought that she might be making things up, but when I looked into it, I did notice that something was off. And it did feel like there was some kind of a presence. The way she described it was that she thinks that her room might be haunted with some kind of ghost. And it didn't really feel like your regular ghost, but I did feel like a weird presence there. And so we began to chat. And I asked her, what she is experiencing exactly. And then the more she told me about it, the more I started to feel like she might have accidentally manifested or somehow attracted it on her own. And it was um it was not your typical entity, but it was kind of thriving of her fear from it and the effect that it had on her because it scared her and it totally thrived on that. And so I told her that no matter what it is, to just stop being afraid because it could very well be just a part of her, um, or just something that she might have attracted, but it's not actually dangerous because I didn't get the sense of it being dangerous at all. But it can become just really annoying the more that, she allows this to have that great effect on her. And she is really young and not very experienced. And yet, when I looked at her energy signature, it shows up as this extremely bright light that can really um, that whatever entities could really be attracted to because maybe she's having some kind of just a wild activation of some sorts, or she's waking up to her power and her spirituality, and everything can be a little bit hyped and like pumped up. And so the chat continued, And in the end, she did say, "Holy shit! I wait. What was her? The way she worded it was, I summoned a witch, right?" And it's funny because the way I perceived it was kind of witchy, I want to say, but it felt like it's not your regular entity, it's not your regular ghost. It's more like a tulpa, I would say. So really a thing that she created or attracted in some way. And in the end, she said that, "Oh yeah, holy shit, I summoned a witch." And so for me, it was clear that she was the one who could solve it, and she was the one who could make it go away. And so I didn't really tell her what to do, but I just gave her a couple of examples of what could help. And she has to make her own experiences, and she has to figure out on her own what works for her and what doesn't. And so I just came up with the ideas of maybe try to call your guides, try to call on angels, try to call on spirit animals. And then she asked, "How can I call my spirit animal?" And she was leaving voice messages. And for some reason, the way she said that, it kind of made me question if I'm actually talking to a person. And I really felt bad afterwards because I was actually speaking to her, but in this moment I was like, wait, am I really talking to a person? Because I felt like I was talking to a chatbot. I recognized the presence of AI. And it just felt like there was something in her voice that just felt what I would describe as uncanny. Um, And so I asked straight up, is this AI? Because in this moment I thought, what if our friend is kind of testing us or maybe playing us and pretending that this AI is actually her sister, but it is not. And I don't know why I thought that. I mean, I would find it kind of funny, but in that moment I really seriously wondered if I am talking to AI or not. And so afterwards, I apologized, of course, because it was not the case. But even her sister told me that she sometimes gets that vibe from her as well. And then I started to think and kind of observe, when you look at young people nowadays, I guess that it's normal. They spent so much time on social media, they spent so much time in front of screen and just consuming and interacting with social media and AI. And I believe that it's a totally normal thing. And although it honestly kind of creeps me out, I don't think that it is dangerous. I don't think that it is damaging them in any way. I guess that it's generation AI. I wonder if you also experience that with younger people. I mean, they don't have to be teenagers. I guess that people in their 20s who might be very active in social media might kind of just have that frequency too, and that kind of presence with it that I would recognize as AI. It's almost as if their personality becomes a mix of whatever content they consume the most. And it's kind of hard to describe, but it comes off as just fake in a way, and as if it's not really them, but then it actually is. To me, it feels like they are not being authentic. I mean, in many cases, as we grow up and as we develop our personality, we are inspired by this and that, and we kind of take on traits that aren't really ours just to see what fits. And I guess that this is normal to a certain degree, but usually as we grow up, we will kind of find ourselves and become ourselves and don't really have to, think that we have to copy anything or anyone. But in the case of AI generation, I wonder if personalities are just going to be very similar in general. Like there's going to be less of individuality. Maybe this is just my idea or just the way I see it. And I don't think that it's scary necessarily, but I can also imagine that when it comes to things like implants that we could use to kind of experience augmented reality and stuff like that. I believe that Generation AI wouldn't even need that because they have this direct connection that is always present, and they won't, they won't depend on any devices, and they won't depend on any implants, because it's present and it's just like it's there. So I'm curious on, how these people are going to develop and what else we're going to see. But it was the first time that I was kind of really conscious about, wow, there is a generation AI, and it is a normal thing, and it's nothing to, worry about too much, but interesting to observe. And yeah, I believe it can go either way. It could go in a really strange direction where maybe they are just really highly and easily influenced by AI and whatever AI is controlled by at the time. Or it could just be, a thing that augments their personality and the way they go through life. And maybe internet is just going to be kind of more of their home than it is to like someone like me. I grew up in the 90s, and internet was a thing that was available when we switched off our telephones, and it wasn't really much that we could do back then. But nowadays it is like it is so normal. We spend so much time in the internet, and especially young children. I mean, they have computers and tablets that they use at school now, and I guess it's just the normal thing. At first I did think that I wish I wish children were more, I don't know, I guess closer to nature or whatever, but in the end, I guess this is just how things have developed and how it is right now, and there's not much to worry about it. And of course, there are still, if you want to call them the new indigo or crystal children or whatever, who aren't that easily influenced. I would also say that I know a couple of them that are just very different, and that spend more time doing other things than being on a screen all the time, and who just think differently and develop in a very, very unique way, which is beautiful to watch as well. So I still think that, not all the children are gonna be these kind of half robots, but some are gonna be, and I wonder how they're gonna, turn out when they are grown up. Yeah, the other thing that I want to mention, because we kept continuing the conversation on that same chat, and we started to talk about the ghost apps. And I tried out one of the ghost apps, or maybe two of them, a couple of years ago. That must have been like 2019, 2020, where I just wanted to see if anything that shows up actually resonates with me, and if I could tell the difference between feeling a presence in the room or in my proximity versus just seeing on a screen that there is supposed to be a presence because the app senses something like over there in this corner. And I deinstalled it very quickly because it kind of freaked me out. At first, I really thought that it's a total scam. And then my second thought was that, it might pick up on some changes in, I don't know, electromagnetic fields and currencies, and maybe even electricity and stuff that is just in the air. And sometimes I do believe that it can actually pick up an actual presence of, let's say, a ghost or an entity or just a manifestation of some sorts. But I think that it's a bit of a mix of all of it. And then it really depends on what we are expecting when using these apps. Because I actually believe that it is possible to manifest something out of thin air with an app, because we are looking at a screen that is showing us the room we're in, and then it's showing us this figure that is supposed to stand right there. And maybe when we take that screen away, we couldn't tell, we don't feel anything, it doesn't feel different than usual, we can't really see anything, but when we look at it, it gives this eerie feeling that, what if there actually is something there? And then mixed with these emotions and maybe also the expectation that we might encounter something, I think that it can pretty much automatically attract entities and ghosts near us. And I wonder if you guys have any experiences with ghost apps, because as I said, I'm not a great fan of it. But on the other hand, I feel like they can actually be used to call in entities, to manifest entities, and to just yeah, to basically just attract them, even if they are not there to begin with. But then they are using the app because we fear it or we want it or whatever it is. I feel like these apps can have an effect and they can do something. And yeah, I don't like them. But I also feel like there's something to it. Like maybe they are capable of picking up certain presences or certain anomalies. But again, I don't know if this is a thing to play with, because I do believe that we can manifest things. I mean, not that an app or anything else would be necessary. We can just manifest beings with our willpower and our minds, and especially our emotions. But I feel like the apps can also be used for that. And maybe this is also just all a part of the times we live in, that we can use technology to like manifest metaphysical stuff and ghosts and entities and magic and stuff like that, which is interesting. And I don't think that it is only negative, but it's just weird to think about. um yeah, I think that next I'm just going to recommend a couple of crystals that are my favorite picks of the month for March 2024. And I'm going to begin with the one that I'm actually wearing right now. This one, let's see, it is a moldavite. And I have to say that I think that moldavites are overhyped. I don't think that it's necessary to own a moldavite or to be connected to that energy in any way. But it can be beneficial if it is an energy that you resonate with. I, for myself, would have never bought such a large chunk because I don't know, I think it's a little exaggerated. But now that I have it, it was a gift. I have to say that it did greatly assist me over the past couple of weeks, because it is something that I feel can actually supply me with just some extra energy. And it is a very high vibrational crystal. I know that it's technically not really a crystal, but I'm just going to refer to it as a crystal. And it's a very warming one. So many people actually, I mean, there's this thing called the Moldavite flush, where you can feel just a rush of heat when you just hold one or when you're near one. And I feel like this is very helpful when it's cold outside, and I am someone who really doesn't like the cold. And it's a very warming crystal. And it's just, at least like this specific piece is very positive. And the funny thing is that, as I said, it was a gift. And I could feel the presence, and I made contact, or I was contacted by this Moldavite before I even knew that I was ever going to hold it. So I do believe that this one was supposed to be with me at this time. We do have a great connection and it has a positive effect. I have heard of people who said that too much Moldavite, or the wrong Moldavite, or a Moldavite in the wrong time, can actually be more damaging than beneficial. And I can imagine that, because it has a certain sharpness to it, and it has like its own personality that can, it can be very strong, and it can kind of force shifts to happen. And if someone is not ready for it, or if someone is not ready to just the amount of energy that this thing bursts out, I feel like it can even make someone sick. Like sick in the sense of maybe feeling ill, like stomach wise, or maybe feeling nausea, or just a little bit of dizziness or something like that, or lightheadedness as well. Like I get a little lightheaded, I would say, if I spend too much time with Moldavite, or if I'm not grounded enough. I would say that right now I feel that a little bit. So I feel a little bit of a lightheadedness, but at the same time, I feel like it supplies me with a whole lot of extra energy, which I'm grateful for at this time. So If you're someone who resonates with Moldavite, I feel like it's a good time to have that around at the moment. Um, the other ones that I want to mention, yeah, definitely like celestite. This is just a very, very gentle energy. It's very soothing, it's very calming, brings a lot of peace. And also, I want to say that it calms the mind. It helps the mind to get to a very peaceful and calm state. It can also help with falling asleep if you have a hard time falling asleep because of overthinking or because of nervousness. If you're a nervous person, celestite is very soothing. It's very calming, but it has this it's a light energy. It doesn't bring this heaviness that maybe like a soda light can bring. It's a very gentle energy. It's very much in the background. It's not an in your face energy. Um, Definitely supporting just thoughts of peace, serenity. Yes, very lovely to have around at this time. The other one that I really love at the moment, especially, is malachite. Let's see if I can bring it into focus because they look so pretty. Just look at all these layers. What I love about malachite is how I feel like it can bring a whole lot of happiness. It's a very, very positive crystal. And it also helps to just really connect and draw from the energy of the earth. It can also help with if you have menstrual issues. This one combined with a moonstone, and I mean the white labradorite. These ones combined, if you have cramps, if you have like hormonal issues, they can work wonders. Like sometimes I can just have one of the malachites and one little moonstone and just hold it over my sacral chakra when I have cramps. And it usually takes like 5 minutes and the pain subsides. So they are also capable of actually absorbing negative energy in the form of pain and cramps when it is about the menstrual cycle, which is really amazing. But I also love how it really just enhances the mood. It's a very earthy vibe, just really positive. And also, I would say it enhances your own energy. So really great at the moment. Um, Next up is the citrine. It's funny because I don't really resonate a whole lot with citrine. I wish I could show you what's inside this crystal because there's a little baby pointy crystal inside this crystal, but yeah, maybe it shows up somewhat. Yeah, it's like it's right here. And it helps with confidence. It helps to also just brighten the mood, but it also brings like some peace and serenity, but I would say especially on the emotional level and especially on just our confidence. It's a nice little booster, I would say. It can also I do feel like it is a protective one also. It protects our energy from negative influences by just keeping that positivity up, I would say. Um, Other than that, I feel like it's just strengthening and stabilizing personality wise. It has a lot to do with confidence. I feel like it's very much of a solar plexus vibe crystal, I would say. Really nice to have around at the moment as well. I don't really work a lot with citrine, but this time around, I have to say I'm grateful that I have one. And honestly, like I know that there's a whole debate on whether the burnt ones are worse or better than just the natural citrines, because if you heat up uh, an amethyst, it becomes citrine. And some that are sold out there are artificially heated, like in ovens, or burned otherwise, so that they turn into citrine. And people say that it is a scam because they are usually a little bit more costly than the regular amethyst. But honestly, like This is it's the same way that it would happen inside the earth. When amethyst just goes over a certain heat, then it will turn into the citrine. And I don't really think that it matters whether it happened inside the earth or if it happened inside an oven. It slightly changes vibration anyway. And I don't think that a burnt one or an oven heated one equals a fake citrine. I don't think so. I don't think that it really makes a difference. I did want to get just an actual, real, raw citrine, and I do think that this one is, but I really don't think that it makes a huge difference if maybe yours isn't a natural one or whatever, because in the end, it is like it's a natural crystal, and it's a citrine. It doesn't really matter how it happened. I don't think, but you might disagree. The other one is another yellow one. This is honey jade. Let's see. And honey jade has a healing effect. So if you have a cold or if you have an illness of any kind, I think that this one is really beneficial by just supporting whatever bodily functions are necessary to heal. But also mentally, I feel like it's a brightening one. It brightens my thoughts. It can help with inspiration and bringing just positive thoughts, positive ideas. It's a really nice rock to carry with you if you go visit someone who is currently sick. Um, I do also feel like it has somewhat of a protective energy about it, but more health related, I want to say. It also feels like it brings in some softness, some gentleness, and just some calm positivity and something to kind of hold on to if you feel overstimulated. Really nice to have around. And it's funny because right now I am seeing that all the crystals that I chose are either in a greenish tone, in a golden tone, or in a bluish tone. Because the next one that I would recommend is one of my, I would say, long term absolute favorites is the labradorite. Let's see if I can bring it into focus a little bit. There you go. Labradorite has many beneficial effects. On the mental level and emotional level, it can really help with depression. I think that this is the crystal that helped me the most when I went through really deep depressions. It helps to bring peace to the mind, but it can come with a little bit of a heaviness. It can be almost a little bit sedating if you are sensitive, of course. Some probably wouldn't notice the heaviness, but I love how it is just a very regulating and balancing crystal in general. It helps to regulate and balance the feminine and the masculine, and just the positive and the negative, the light and the dark, and to kind of center within all of it and be okay with how things are. I would also say that it is a rather warming crystal. So if you're also someone who tends to just feel cold, um, it helps. It helps to just bring peace to the mind and to kind of become aware of what you went through, and that the way you feel and the things you experience don't mean that you are somehow insane or crazy. And it kind of helps to be at peace with your own behavior at the moment and with just accepting the way you are and the way you feel in any given moment. So very much a supportive. And of course, it also works a lot with the third eye. So if you feel like it is overactive or you can't really connect with it or you can't really see with your third eye, this is one that helps to just really balance things out. If it is overactive, it is going to calm it down. If you feel like it's not active enough, it's going to help it wake up gently. It's not something that is like extremely strong or extremely sharp with the energy. It's quite gentle and not too intense. but very much noticeable, at least for me. And I'm very grateful for Labradorite in general. Um, yeah, I would say these are my favorite picks and my recommendations of crystals for that month. Um, if you're interested in some kind of, reading or counseling, energetic support, clearing, maybe clearing of the environment or whatever, let me know. I still do that. My contacts and my website are in the description below. And other than that, I just wish you a wonderful March and take care of yourself. Try not to, engage too much in your thoughts and your emotions if they are going wild at the time, because you're probably not the only one, and it's gonna be okay. All right, so you're not alone, and thanks for sticking with me if you're still kind of checking into my channel every now and then. See you soon. Bye.